Folks, security is so important at SupportLogic. We have Tyler here. We have an absolute expert here to talk all about our security and our data pipeline and everything that we do to keep our customer data secure, but also flexible. Tyler, if your mic is on.
It sounds like it is. Check, check, check. Is it coming through? Oh, that gets a little better. Sound check, right? Check, check. Close enough. All right. Well, I'm going to stand here and talk about it. So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tyler Pinckard. I'm going to be talking about our security architecture here at SupportLogic. Making up for a little lost time, but if you have questions, raise your hand. I'd love to hear them. All right. So, overview, stuff we're going to talk about. You guys can read the slide. I don't need to belabor it. Onto it. Me, I'm your speaker. Hello. I'm head of security. I'm the data privacy officer here. Prior to this, I was at Bill.com for 4.5 years, where I built their DevSecOps practice and was a founding engineer at a blockchain startup before then, as was cool at the time. Here in the Valley, I'm on the board of the Information Systems Security Association. I'm active in the community, and I work hard to keep your data safe. All right, so perimeter security. It's out. Don't do that. All right? So let's start off. Let's talk about what security is. All right? Security is not one thing. It's a combination of systems that come together to deliver a few things. We want to maintain assurance of our environments as we're running the code that manages your data. We got to protect that data, keep it out of bad guys' hands, keep it off the internet, and make sure we maintain compliant, right? It was actually former CISO of Levi's that told me this. It's like, what do you do in security? It's like, oh, you keep the system safe. Wrong! All right? You generate systems that is able to generate the evidence that you provide to auditors to give them proof you are keeping everything safe as you say you are. Now, we got some cool names on the board. Everybody in this room included, but these ones were asked by my boss, Krishna, right? Big, serious security companies entrust us with our data, right? And they are obviously large targets of attack, and it's important that we maintain assurance of it. But these guys trust us, so you should too. All right? So, we got some certifications, right? SOC 2. I'm actually in the midst of my SOC 2 audit right now. I believe our SOC 2 auditors will be joining us this afternoon because their office is around the corner. ISO 27001, I just finished our surveillance audit a month before last. GDPR, HIPAA, and CCPA, right? Mostly on the breach notification side. We do regular internal and external security audits. I'm lining up our pen testers for my next round of SOC, looking to get that engagement underway next month. Shucks, we're already in October, right? But not only are we doing internal, external pen tests, we invite our customers to try out your environment. Try and beat it up. Let me know, all right? There's no perfect approach, but you can use a bunch of different pieces to build a robust security program. All right. Let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger on my screen. There we go. Okay. So we're not just keeping bad guys out, but we got to make sure our workforce and the infrastructure is secure. And that's a multifaceted problem. It's not just people. It's not just your execution environment. And for the nerds in here, that's prod, all right? Development and support systems, that includes our CI/CD. That's a gnarly way to get popped. They bust into your CI/CD and now you're shipping malware, right? Endpoints, that includes mobile devices, laptops, right? That's all in scope of our security. And then communication systems that tie them together. And that's email, Slack, Zoom, GCP, Google Workspace. I can keep going. Now, while I'm going to be talking about some of the things I do for security in SupportLogic, this is not a comprehensive presentation. I am not giving you a blueprint to attack my systems, all right? What I want to do is put your mind at ease. There's other stuff too, right, where it's just going to get you excited. But I want you guys to understand how we approach this and how seriously we take the security of your data within our firm. All right? And so, this is 2024. Perimeter security is no longer sufficient, right? your firewall administrators and the network guys, oh, we'll just keep them out. You don't have to worry about anything. It's not really going to cut it anymore. The walled castle is dead. There are holes in all of your walls, right? The old way, strong walls, you got a moat on the outside. You know, big draw gate, you can crawl up, a porculus, you can drop down on people that try and charge your gates, all right? But once you're inside the walls, it's an open field. Help yourself, right? All you can eat buffet. It's expensive to attack. But conversely, you got bad guys on the inside. It's really hard to detect and prevent them from doing gnarly stuff they're not supposed to be doing. So what are we doing instead? Well, attacks can come from anywhere, inside the wall, outside the wall. What if I was an attacker, right? We use a variety of threat models to define how we build the defenses inside our building. So baseline is a zero trust approach, defense in depth. This has become hip these days. NSA published a model to zero trust security, I believe 2015, and then that's rolled out across. This is what Google uses inside, right? Attackers can come from anywhere, I mentioned that. Auth and encryption attacks, also everywhere. And this is even more expensive to attack because it's not just get inside the wall and you're free. Once you get inside the wall, you're still getting questioned at every interaction. Hey, how do we know you're supposed to be here? Oh, you've got the right credentials. Great. Let's make sure that's going through an encrypted tunnel. And the advantage here is that this reduces the risk of inside threats. All right? So starting from the top, the VPC architecture, right? And those of you guys that might do some cloud engineering on the side, be rehashing, but again, let me know if you have questions. So we maintain a model of single tenancy for our customer environments. Salesforce data is not being co-executed with CrowdStrike data, which is not being co-executed with NTT. This means separate networks for every customer environment, separate compute, separate storage. And this is uncommon in most SaaS applications. And the reason is because it's expensive. That means we run duplicate infrastructure for all of our folks. Now, why it's expensive? Why would we do that, right? Well, we understand the importance of the data we're processing, and we know how important it is to keep it secure. It's a literal threat to our enterprise, and that's why we take it as seriously as we do. So there are some cool things about running a single tenancy from the administration side, right? We get data isolation and security. All of your data lives separately. All right, this reduces my risk of data breach, right? Because everybody's running in separate buckets, and it's unlikely you'll get them all. And this is important for industries that have strict compliance requirements. All right, allows for greater customization and flexibility, right? Single tenancy. Salesforce, you'd imagine, lots of tickets. Probably needs some pretty beefy hardware. That's not universally true for all of my customers, right? And this allows us to use targeted infrastructure sizing in order to meet your specific performance requirements. All right? Changes and enhancements can be made to one environment without impacting any of the other customer environments. On the performance optimization side, right? This is the other side of that coin. So since we got every tenant on their own copy of the infrastructure, right? Performance issues that might impact one customer are isolated from the other ones, right? And this allows us to be very specific with how we turn the dials and adjust the VM sizing or the database sizing in order to support your operations. So easier compliance, right? We've got some of my folks, right? They have very specific GDPR concerns. And because we're single tenancy, I can run a copy of their infrastructure in a European data center, typically Frankfurt, right? Because they've got very strong reasons. But we can set up specific infrastructure that is tailored to individual tenant needs without impacting the overall application. Controlled updates and changes, again, we do it on a customer-by-customer basis. And this means that bugs that may impact one customer are isolated to that environment, and we can roll out updated software to fix that issue without bugging anybody else. Enhanced support, right? Support can go straight into your instance, makes it very easy to reproduce those problems, and can lead to quicker resolutions on our side as we support your use of our application in your organization. All right, resource allocation. I touched on this before. Dedicated resource. And because of that, this can lead to greater performance in high-load situations And in the specific where you've got one customer facing high loads, that's not going to impact my other ones. And then me, on my cloud operations side, easier backup and disaster recovery. This is one that we exercise every 6 months, and I'll be moving to quarterly, because it's like lifting weights. You want to get stronger, you lift bigger weights, right? We practice this a lot because this is how we make sure that if something goes wrong, we can get you back up and running as quickly as possible. All right, so let's touch on our data security. And I'm talking fast because I'm making up a little bit less time, but please feel free to raise your hands if you have any questions while I'm stepping through this. I welcome the opportunity. So we're going to keep your data safe end-to-end. We use ELT to pull the data out of your side. Most folks are using Fivetran. We got some options that I'll touch on and how we can do that. This data is pulled over SSL using REST APIs. All right, we reach in to your CRM, whether that's Salesforce, Zendesk. There's some others I can't pull out. Jira. All right, you give us the authentication token, you scope the authentication token, and we only have the data that you choose to share with us. You don't have to share those credentials directly with us, especially if you're using the Fivetran option, because you go in, set up that connection, and then I never hold them at all. And that means I never have the opportunity where I can lose them. And then access is maintained to the VPC using the self-service OAuth. All right, so let's talk through our data flow. And we'll start it from your perspective down at the bottom. CRM, bloop, ETL, or ELT in this case. Yes, well, it's just whether you decide whether you're going to be extract, load, and transform, or you do the extract, transform, and load. I've seen them use both, so excuse the slip. But pulls that out, shoots it into Cloud SQL on our side, and we have some Snowflake options I'll get into in a bit, but we started with a single tenancy Postgres database, so everybody's got their own Postgres database. All right, pulled into the back end, we do some neat AI models, generate some signals. All right. That goes up, pushes out to the user interface, which you can reach into, just like you log into your bank, HTTPS, SHA-256, RSA encryption. Woo. And then from my side on the administration, we have 2FA mandated on any SSH connection. And I'll talk about how we do the authorization into that from the DevOps and operational side. But these are the data that we're going to actually pull out of your CRM. This is all we need in order to drive those models that Alex and her team build. And these will be your case details, notes, comments, discussions. Go ahead, sir.
Have you guys given much thought to data redaction?
Yes, we absolutely have. We're building it now. I'm going to leave that to the product, but thank you very much. That's a great question. I am pretty sure we've got that coming up in talks. Yes, and I see the lady speaking after me nodding, so we'll put that in the parking lot, but we will have that answer to you in less than an hour. Case requester details, the agent details, and then product usage message metrics. That's just how we track how you're using our system so we can make sure we're building you good systems. All right, so another view of our data pipeline. Bloop, you got your CRM. We extract it from your side, and we load it into ours. And that goes into the crm.db, either Snowflake or Postgres. This is what lives inside the SupportLogic VPC, single tenancy, so it's just your stuff, right? What do we say? Check the credentials, read the permissions, transform the schema, make the field requests. And then the other option, you can come in to look at it on the UI, or we can push that data straight back out to your CRM. And we have customers that use this in both ways. Some one, some the other, and some together. So how can we get that data out of your system? Well, I touched on Fivetran before. That's our cloud ETL, all right? And that's either in the standard or reverse SSH. If you don't like inbound connections, you can push it out through reverse SSH tunnel. Data replication via Snowflake. This is turning into my favorite way, right? Because now we don't have to vacuum it out. We don't have to pay Fivetran controls. If you've already got all this data inside your Snowflake instance, you can share it directly with us. And then that saves, it makes our models faster, and it's cheaper to operate. So if you do that, you're interested in that, please talk to us. I would love to help you. Go ahead, sir.
Are there plans to make it more real time on kind of this data movement into, because right
Well, and that's the thing about 5chan, right? The closest we can do on a sync is 5 minutes, right? And so that's what sets the cadence on how often we update that data. Now, if you're pushing that into Snowflake, right? And it's how well are you feeding that data that composes the data lake in your Snowflake. If that's live data, then we already have live data in our system, right? It's just 5chan starts to break down because we can't get them to turn up that sync frequency more than 5. That's what sets that limit. However, we've got other ones where we can do on-prem ELT. Like, if you wanted to, you could host your own, so it's not 5chan. We do have a customer that does this today. And we can push that every 30 seconds or 5 seconds. You know, that's where we start getting into the performance cost trade-offs. But absolutely, there are ways to do it. It's just more of a custom config than going with what we got, our out-of-box solution. And then on the data replication side on Snowflake, we can use a tool called Archeon, which was bought by one of our customers, where we can read in from any discrete data location, push it into Snowflake, and then replicate it in that fashion. And then the on-prem ETL, where you host a chunk of code and push it to us, either a hosted version of 5chan, which still has the 5chan limitations, or you can use Airbyte and set that sync to 5 seconds if you're so inclined. All right, so data restriction. So how do you make sure you're not sending us data you don't want us to have? Because again, we have very tightly scoped data, stuff that we need in order to drive our models. First one, you can change it in the application itself. Like we can, at the front end, adjust the levers. We still have all that data on our back end, but this allows us to do this filtering in real time. 2, all right? You can scope it on the permissions that we use to reach inside your CRM so that we only have access, only have visibility into that data you want. 3, filter it before it even gets to your data lake, right? But then you lose the possibility of doing some neat correlations on your side that maybe we wouldn't necessarily be doing. And then 4, you can filter it inside the ELT itself. But again, we understand the sensitivity of the data that we are processing. We are not trying to steal your data. We only want to have enough to be able to drive our models and give you the signals that you pay us for. So, data protection, right? We do protect our data. We do encrypt the data, data in flight, data at rest, encrypted at every point. The one I'll point out here, because this gets the security guys excited, VPC instance, because we have separate keys for every customer, right? We are fully FIPS 140-2 compliant. BYOK, this is something I built, or my team built in the last month, right? And we are, I won't name the specific customer, but it's one of the security conscious customers you saw on my slide before. They had a requirement they wanted to host their own key, all right? And the way we did this, you guys create your KMS key in GCP. You share it to us through IAM permissions. We assume that role. We can read your key, and now we use it transparently. Something happens, they don't like it, they change their key. Now they've just blocked access to us accessing their data, and that's okay, right? It's your data. We want to process it in a way that makes you happy. But I'm proud of this because it's neat to be able to add new features without having to change our product. That's just coming at it from my side on the infra. Data classification matrix. When I point out here, ticketing data, we classify that as confidential. It means it's only yours and ours. Sensitive is internal, right? That's stuff that we just keep inside, although some of our customers do want to get that out. Again, we want to make sure you're comfortable with us processing your data. All right? Code to cloud. Let's talk about security posture. All right? So, got our requirements defined in Jira. Those commits are linked to Git. I'm going to go quickly through this because this is pretty generally accepted cloud security information. We do mandatory code review on all check-ins, at least 2-party. So it's nobody pushing code and running it in prod. It has to go through review. Static and dynamic code testing, as well as SCA, is integrated in my CI/CD pipeline. So it's not someone remembering to run these tools. They happen automatically. If we move outside the thresholds of acceptance, then that risk has to be assumed by the folks deploying the code. And then we have a formal process for that. I'm going to give a shout out to Quiet AI, who is one of our customers, and we use their service. I like buying my customers' products, right? Great suite. I don't know if you guys need static or dynamic analysis, but I would point you to them. Anything that comes up is reviewed as part of the QA process and build acceptance. That's what I touched on before. And we have regular developer training, both in the security and best practices domain. All right, we call this the DevOps infinity circle, but the thing is, it's never done, right? We build it, we deploy it, you monitor it, you integrate, and you report. And we stay on this cycle forever. It's my team that's responsible for keeping your systems alive and running. We have a 24/7 NOC SOC level 1 that spins up to a level 2 alert system depending on what's going on. All right, so let's talk about some secure deployment practices and hardened environments. Infrastructure is code. All of your code, or at least the infrastructure code that I use to build a new customer environment is built in Terraform, right? Cloud environment configurations, that Terraform code is checked into Git. This facilitates repeatable infrastructure. And then from my side as an operator of our cloud environment, it allows for drift detection and remediation so that we can keep all of our customer environments tied together. We have threat intelligence and detection. This is mandated through our ISO 27001. I just switched from Lacework to Sysdig. Sysdig, want to give them a shout out as our customers as well. Great product. Thank you, sir. All right. But this is cloud control plane monitoring through the cloud audit in GCP or CloudTrails and AWS, depending on which cloud you prefer. And then we run an agent on every single one of my systems. That gives us a very rich set of telemetry that we can use to look for things going on in there that may not need to be. Logs and alerts are monitored and triaged by my 24/7 NOC SOC and DevOps team. Mandatory 2FA on production access. So that we use role-based access. This is not blanket permissions, right? My developers don't have access to every system out there. They say, hey, I want to access Sysdig systems for 8 hours in order to do this analysis. And this isn't my laptop, so I can't show you, but we have a Slack bot set up in a channel called permission request. You say, hey, at Gandalf, which is the name of that agent, I am seeking access to these systems for this many hours for this purpose. And this generates the access log that I present to our auditors. We go through our audits. The approval list for those access is maintained in Git. So if you need access to a new system, again, it's going through mandatory two-factor, or two-party review. So it's not just you getting access. There's always someone in the loop. And then if you're on the approval list in Git by that permission request bot that I mentioned, you are granted access to that system on a time-limited basis. Today we're using Junk Cloud to enforce 2FA, and that's how I facilitate connection in there. I'm looking at alternate solutions. And then, once again, Cloud VPC, isolated environments, so we can keep everything tightly coupled. So, a couple advanced security features, and I'll go quickly for this. We do monthly security audits, and this includes access requests, internal and external network scans, vulnerability review and remediation. Everyone inside my company is through a mandatory background check, and that includes both employees and contractors. All right, we will not provision access in Google Workspace, Slack, or GCP unless you have a successful background check. Encryption, anti-malware, all the stuff that's required by SOC 2 and ISO. And customer data access is limited to a small list of whitelisted employees inside. Yep, look, 24/7 we do it. All right, we're looking at code coverage, watching GCP, looking for updates, the WAF results, and log monitoring. All right, pops up in Slack. If you get a validated incident, it goes up to Jira. And again, I get audited this on an annual basis, if not more frequently. Got a bunch of tools we use. Just in the interest of the time, I won't read through them, but all right. I'm on the hook for our audits, all right? So auditors will look at our ISMS. Let me see if I can pull this up real quick. Here's my ISMS. This is what I built here, all right? This is 120 and 20 separate policies that cover everything from, we got statement of applicability, segregation of duties guidelines, your threat intelligence process, your information asset inventory. And yeah, it really sucks when you have to pull these up, read through them one by one with the auditor. But this is what got me through my ISO audit. So yeah, get back in this. Oh, I don't know. Let's see if I can do this. Oh no. One more second. Excuse me. Oh no, I did. I think I closed the wrong window. Do you know how to pull that back up?
I think we might have to,
Just move on.
or just open it back up.
Yeah,
Click this go.
this guy.
Oh, yeah, don't double click, just so that you can click that.
Okay.
And then
Thank you guys. Yeah.
drag it over.
Okay. Slideshow. I didn't expect that to happen. That's what I get for not trying that back
No,
up.
no worries.
All right, here we go.
Yeah, and then double, yeah.
Yeah.
You got it.
Okay, cool.
Oh, you know what? One more fix.
No, let me finish this. I'm almost done.
Okay, okay. I was
Yeah,
gonna get
I got my last slide here, right? We built our own models. Alex just talked about this. We self-host them, right? We have a subset of features that may leverage Gen AI models, like case summarization, response assist. Use of those models are optional. Some of my customers are very suspicious of Gen AI, and I will not tell you they're wrong, right? It's how you choose to deal with the data security inside your organization. So if you don't like them, we'll leave those features off. Look, no Gen AI, right? Then it's just models running on my hardware. We can also swap those model providers. OpenAI, ChatGPT, Anthropic, Claude, and we're in the process of building some home-built models on AWS Bedrock. Key takeaways: security is not just a checkbox. This is the foundation of trust in our enterprise. We understand the importance of your data, and we spend a lot of time, effort, and money keeping it secure. We have a comprehensive security architecture to keep your trust, maintain protection of that data, and have a multi-layered defense in depth approach to maintain assurance. Please contact us if you've got any information. Thank you guys for your attention. I hope I didn't get too fast. If you have any questions, now's the time.